Good morning, and it is a good morning with the sun rising behind me. Two of the most significant events taking place during the month of June speak volumes to our values and our mission as an inclusive college. National Indigenous History Month and Pride Month. For many, myself included, the pandemic has felt unprecedented, but for Indigenous nations and communities, pandemics are very much part of their history as a result of settler colonialism. And if any of you ever had the privilege to participate with Indigenous educators in the Blanket Exercise, which is an interactive educational program that teaches the history of Indigenous peoples in Canada, you will recall that there are many stories of entire villages and communities being eliminated by disease. These collective truths are not always easy to hear, but are critically important to be aware of and reflect upon if we are to foster truth, understanding, respect and reconciliation amongst Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. Indigenous nations, including the ones that have historically called the area that Centennial College campuses now sit on home, such as the Mississaugas and other members of the Anishinaabe Confederacy, the Haudenosaunee and the members of the Huron and Wendat confederacies, are incredibly resilient nations. The continued social inequities we are seeing across Turtle Island are a stark reminder that we all have a responsibility to learn the historical struggles that our Indigenous colleagues and students have had to endure and continue to endure in order to access education, and once accessed, to feel truly included and able to actualise their own destinies. Indigenous History Month is a reminder not only of the journey that Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit and Métis have experienced, but of the need to continue confronting ongoing marginalisation, of working towards truth and reconciliation, and recognising Indigenous sovereignty. June is also the month we recognise the diversity of our LGBTQ2S+ community through our activities to celebrate Pride. The struggles of the LGBTQ2S+ community are not separate from those of Two-Spirit and LGBTQ+ members of the Indigenous community, as many nations recognised a variety of genders and sexualities prior to colonialisation and are working to recreate these spaces in their own communities. It's important to recognise that both National Indigenous History Month and Pride Month began as celebrations to address continued social inequities. Hence, it's our responsibility to stop and remember the legacy and impact that members of those communities continue to have on the work of making Centennial a more equitable place, to continue to learn and unlearn the biases towards Indigenous peoples and members of the LGBTQ2S+ community, and moreover, to celebrate the spaces of inclusion Centennial members of these communities have created for our students, for our staff, and for our faculty. Spaces that are more important than ever when you consider recent events happening across Turtle Island and the need to work in solidarity with the Black, Afro-Indigenous and Indigenous community members who are part of Centennial College, many of whom are understandably struggling with individual and systemic anti-Black racism and anti-Indigenous racism and need to experience permanent and positive changes. We are excited and proud to continue our work of indigenisation and team members within our place for reconciliation for all our relations. We'll be providing programming and sessions through the month of June to provide education and celebrate National Indigenous History Month. So please stay tuned for those. Thank you.